I kind of hope we talk about a little bit is cyborgs. I don't know if this is something
Yeah.
you're gonna bring up. I don't know if that was the plan, but like,
I could, yeah. I
okay,
mean, I kind
if
of am one,
that's
so.
okay. Okay. So I didn't want to say that. I'm glad you said that, but it is so true. Like we already are halfway there to cyborgism, I guess, if you will. And like, I don't know. I my friends and I have been joking about it for a long time. I mean, since we were like in high school about how, awesome it would be to just be cyborgs. So I don't know. I think
I
you're
know,
right.
yeah. I can talk about like how high tech I am.
Yeah, like already
Like
you're
all the
like
details, like,
right.
yeah. I'll share
Right.
all that stuff.
You're halfway to uploading your brain to the cloud as it is. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
I was there.
Which that's probably a great segue into saying, hey everybody, thanks so much for being here and watching this on the cloud or your direct stream to consciousness device, wherever we are, whatever time it is, whatever technology is out there making it
Who
happen.
knows?
Thank you, AI overlords. No, we're back. We're back again, and I am here with a very, very good friend of mine. Somebody that is on her way to becoming the first cyborg ever. No, I don't know that that's a true goal, but somebody that has been extremely active in a lot of spaces. Whether that's atheism, whether that's LGBTQ activism, whether that's science stuff, which you have been doing science stuff for a long time. I mean, even did this massive fundraiser and March for Science thing a
Yeah.
good few years ago down in Texas. Had what, tens of thousands of people show up. I think it was a hugely cool event. But I'm not going to step on your intro anymore. AJ, please tell everybody who you are and what your channel Ways to Human is all about, and just all the great stuff you do.
Hey, what's up? So, okay, so I'm AJ, and I'm from Ways to Human, which you can see right here. That's my channel, and it's the same across social media. Mostly, I think Instagram and Facebook. I do use those, and my personal one. But anyway, so on my channel, I like to share stuff about science because for me, what led me back to atheism, because I used to be
Mm,
an atheist and then I was a religious person and then back to atheism. But what kicked my senses back on was science,
mm,
right? Getting back into all of that, into, like you mentioned, the March for Science was one of those things. My kid having a bunch of health issues like heart
yeah.
conditions and mental stuff was like really led me to dive deep into science and how the brain works. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, ghosts.
Mm,
Right? Like
yeah.
if your soul exists, then ghosts have to exist. Then
Yeah.
what is that all about? And then,
Mm,
like learning about consciousness with oh man, I love talking to Richard Gilliver about this topic because
yeah.
he's like, right, getting really deep into like what is consciousness, like where does it come from? And so I think that science communication is really, really important for people to understand the way their brain works. And that's why I picked this topic of science. And I was
Mm,
like, hey, science turns you into an atheist
yeah.
because once you understand how your brain works, there is no way that you can't explain supernatural experiences, or talking to God, seeing God, experiencing God, the way you feel when you pray, the way you feel when somebody else prays for you, right?
Mhm.
And all of those types of things, or why you might feel better when when a lot of people around you are praying for you, or like
Right.
in church putting their hands over you and stuff, you may momentarily feel like you're healing or like you're feeling better. It's a brain
Mhm.
trick. It's a brain trick. That's how it is. It's
Yeah.
totally natural. So I like to share content about those topics and help people explain some of it, not specifically related to religion, right? Because
Right,
if you
right.
start with something else, it will lead you there eventually. If I explain to you how music makes you feel like that, what they got frozen, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
your skin gets tingling and all of that. You get all of that feeling, you get, like dopamine rushes through your body and it makes you feel that way. If I explain to you what love does to your brain and then
Mm-hmm.
does to your physical body, then you're like, okay, then love isn't this supernatural thing that you just shoot with an arrow, right? Like Cupid does.
Right.
It's like it's all a brain process, and it's not to say that oh, love is just in the brain. Like, sure, it is, but it does encompass all of your body, all of
Mm-hmm.
your senses and everything. Like you continue to build that up, and it's like if somebody breaks your heart, it truly feels like your heart is broken,
Right. You
right?
have that physical sensation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it may be a brain thing, but your body completely feels the full experience of it that comes
Mm.
along with all of those neurotransmitters flowing and all of brain connections that you're making with that other person.
I'm glad you said that. And I want to ask this question and then go back a little bit kind of into your story about how you got here because it's really really fascinating. And I'm sure there's at least one person out there that hasn't heard some of it. But what you were just talking about there with that, how love really is, these neurotransmitters in your brain, right? And that leads me to this thought that I know you've heard a bunch from the apologists and even well-meaning religious people is they say that if we reduce love and we reduce compassion and the good feelings that you get with other people, if we just reduce all that stuff to just chemicals fizzing in the brain, it just takes it away. It's just not cool anymore. It's not special. It's not interesting. The magic is gone, AJ. What do you say to that? Do you think they're right? Do you think they're onto something? Or are they just completely off base there?
No, I don't think they're right with that. I think that
Mm,
the way that we experience literally everything can feel so real and can feel
mm,
like this enormous experience that really takes up your whole life. Um, I mean, if you look at things like addiction, right? Addiction is not, we don't give addiction to any supernatural deity, right? We don't
mhm.
say, oh, God, God gave me addiction.
Right, right,
But it's the devil, maybe.
right.
But the way it completely takes over your life and the way that it can affect your physical, how you feel and how you think, how you behave, how you interact with other people is is a really really major thing
Mhm,
that while we cannot connect it to a supernatural experience, then I will compare it to love because it is this
mm,
experience that can overtake out of your life. You're probably thinking of that person, when you first meet someone, like you're constantly thinking of them. There's
mhm,
nothing you do can distract you from that. When you're close to them, your and their oxytocin probably goes up, which is like the hormone that comes up when you give somebody a hug, when you
right.
kiss them, and all of that stuff, right? So that physical contact is building that love, and that love builds more brain connections that are sort of assigned to that person, right? So when you think of something or when you smell something that reminds you of that person, then
Mhm,
your connections that you made earlier with that physical touch are gonna come back, and you're gonna feel them, and that's why you feel that love.
right.
So like, I don't think it's less meaningful just because it's not supernatural. I think
Yeah.
it is even cooler, right? Like how our brains can become sort of addicted to this other person.
Yeah, and I love the way you ended it there. Your brain almost becomes a little addicted to this person.
Huh.
It's this reinforcement mechanism that happens inside of you where like there's this, little piece of your brain that's like, "Ooh, that's the person that I really care about." And then you hang out with them for a little bit and then you get some of that reward, pleasure syrup in your brain and then you're all like, man, I want to hang out with them again, you know? And it just kind of like, and that's not just something obviously that occurs in a, you know, a romantic partnership type of thing, but
Yeah.
it's just with friendship too. It's just with community. And I think that's pretty awesome, especially like smells are so weird to me, man. Smells and how they work with the brain
Yeah.
are just crazy. And like the thought that there is this memory somewhere stored in your brain, right? Which is actually a physical thing, people. If like go look into some stuff on memory from like Patricia Churchland and stuff. There is some really interesting stuff coming out right now. And we know that like physical structures in the brain, right? And damaging those physical structures or altering them can really drastically alter your memories, right? And so when you smell that thing at a store or at a restaurant that reminds you of that time when you were 5 years old, that means there is a scent out, a chemical out there that when it hit your brain, a piece of it lit up somewhere and was like, I remember that shit. Like, that's so cool to me. That's so much cooler than a ghost in the machine.
It's amazing though, yeah, and it can be both for good and for bad, right? I have this
Mm-hmm.
thing with hand sanitizer, and there's like a specific one. I think it's just the most common, like the Germ X one
Mm.
that they use at the hospitals, right? And that specific brand brings back memories for me of my kid being in the hospital and having her surgery,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like an
Yeah.
immediate sort of like anxiety. But then there's other
Right.
things, like the smell of the Wayne that reminds
Mm.
me of being a kid, but like positive memories, like
Right.
uh running outside in the rain and playing in it and like having fun with my siblings. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's good stuff.
And
It's like
that
so amazing.
and that deep, again, like what you were talking about, you know, these deep connections that can occur from something just as simple as a smell in your presence, right, can then bring up all of these emotions that are happening because your whole system is being flooded with these chemicals, you know. And again, that can be used good, bad, neutral, you know, by all kinds of different people. And um in your situation, when you came to religion, from my understanding of your story, I mean, that was pretty, you know, that was preyed upon. That was a big thing that those
Mhm.
people were kind of rallying around you, was saying that, hey, we know your child is sick and actually we can help him. And that did not pan out any way, shape, or form, did it?
No, no, that's the thing, like I always feel this way now, seeing it, after I've been out of religion for several
Mhm.
years. You can see where religion preys on vulnerable people, like
Mm.
somebody that is trying to stop drinking or smoking or whatever, right? Like if they have an addiction and they're trying to stop, they prey on those people. With AA
Mhm.
is highly religious
Yeah.
organization, unfortunately. um, then you have people who are going through any kind of struggle
Mm.
or a medical sort of emergency, or a critical moment in their life where they're feeling really down and really vulnerable, and they don't know where else to turn. And so you have somebody telling you, hey, if you give your life to Jesus,
Mm.
he can make miracles. And oh, look what he did for me, this and this and this. And you're like, uh, you don't really think, well, but wait a minute, how long was it between the time that you
Mm.
prayed and the time that you healed? Like,
Yeah.
was there any treatment? Like, you don't think about that stuff
Right.
in that moment. You're like, oh shit, they got cured. Okay, bring it on. And that's what happened to me, I think. And I felt drawn to this specific uh, set of Christianity
Mm.
because they're Pentecostal, because they do faith healing,
Right.
right? And so, yeah, I did a couple times where, when you go on the stage and they like the pastor comes to you and puts a hand on
Oh,
you, and
yeah.
you feel it in your, like, that's the part that I'm talking about, or
Yeah.
that I was talking, well, how you can physically feel what you perceive to be being healed or being cured or feeling better. And it's because you're surrounded by all this positivity,
Right.
and this person telling you that if you do this, you're gonna get better, your baby's
Yeah.
gonna get better. You can't see it because your baby is still inside you, and so obviously you have to wait until the baby's born and
Right.
wait.
And did you, I mean, looking back on it now, do you have a memory of feeling this overwhelming
Oh
sensation come
yeah.
over you? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, of course, yeah, yeah. But like now I know, hey, it's
Right.
just neurotransmitters. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all
But
it
in
is.
the moment, I mean, that's
It
huge. I
feels,
mean,
yeah,
you're pregnant, you're told like, hey, these doctors, they saying stupid stuff, God will take care of it, all these people around you. I mean, that's powerful. It's a really, really powerful experience. It's no wonder people, and you completely gave your life over. I mean, you accepted Jesus, you were in the church, you were gung ho, right?
yeah, yeah. And nothing really happened. I guess I don't know.
Mm.
Maybe I played the wrong way, or like I thought the wrong thing. That was one of the things that for me was like really. I was guilt ridden whenever I had
Mm.
a negative thought, because I was like, well, God is listening all the time,
Yeah.
24/7, and it doesn't matter how quietly you say it or don't say it. If you think it, He knows,
He knows. Yeah.
right? And I don't know. That's a really good way to make people feel less, like
Mm.
so much less than what they actually are,
Yeah.
and that they need this deity in order to be more, to
Right.
be better, to be worthy of His love. And but you never get to that point. You can
Mhm.
never feel like you get to that point.
No. No, there's no way to. That cup is always empty, man. You never get to the place of, you've obviously pleased God and everything, because then you would get all the nice things, and if you get all the nice things that you want, then why are you coming to church? So okay, you're in this space now. You're feeling all the chemicals, they're washing over your body, and yet um nothing has happened. No, there is no change whatsoever. There is no, improvement.
Right.
And what do you do? I mean, do you just drop everything immediately and run to the nearest doctor? I mean, do you, how did you navigate that?
Well, we did have doctors, and in fact, we were often offered one of those very sinful options, an
Mm.
abortion,
Oh,
the bad word, the bad
yeah.
word.
Yeah.
And I do think that's likely one of the reasons that my husband's family sort of intervened and was like, "Hey,
Mm.
come to church," because they knew that was on the table,
Yeah.
and that we had that consideration. And so when I started going to church, it was immediately like, well, no, I can't really do that. I
Mhm.
have to leave it in God's hands.
Right.
And now, I am sure that some theists listening will say, well, that was God's intervention right there, because
Mm.
you didn't have an abortion and you did
Right.
have your child, and your child is now a teenager.
Right.
So, like, God made it work. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But
Yeah.
that being said, yeah. So at that time, we decided to continue the pregnancy and be like, whatever happens, happens, because there was actually a second possibility aside from the heart conditions, which was uh, trisomy 13, which is non-compatible with life. And
Mm.
but the thing is, when they will do the ultrasounds, one of the key things that they look at is physical defects.
Yeah.
And one of them is the hands of the baby, of the fetus, do not develop correctly. So it will
Mm.
look like a fist, right?
Interesting.
And so the couple of times they did ultrasounds to determine, whether this condition was present, every single time the hands were in a fist.
Wow.
And so the doctors were like, well, we're pretty certain we can do a an amniocentesis, which is like an enormous needle inserted into your belly, well, to poke the baby and take out DNA and do the testing. But it also carries the risk of miscarriage, and so
Mm,
we were like, there's really no point because we are going to continue with the pregnancy. Like,
right.
if that came positive, we wouldn't have changed the course
Right.
of the decision. And so we were like, all right, that's fine. And so it turned out that it wasn't that, it just so happened that the babies had the hands in fist because, like,
Right.
trust me, the hands are fine.
Right. Right.
So um, it was it was hard to come to terms with, okay, God didn't heal my child.
Right.
And I think a lot of people struggle with that when
Mm,
when
for
they
sure.
see suffering or when they see something unfair happening to themselves or to their own family, and they believe in God and they just make all of the excuses as to why God would allow such a thing.
Yeah.
um which brings me to, I'm currently raising funds for an organization called St. Baldrick's, which
Hmm.
raises funds for childhood cancer research. And then after that, you shave your head, which is what I'm going to do, by the way. But so when asking people, why would God allow childhood cancer? One
Yeah.
of the main answers that I've gotten so far is free will, right? And
Yeah.
even if we were talking about an adult, right? Let's say, okay, free will. This person smoked and got lung cancer.
Hmm.
And now wants the cancer to go away. Isn't God going against their free will?
Yeah. Yeah. Great
By
question.
keeping them?
Yeah.
Right?
Also, if I give you 12 options and tell you that of the 12, 11 of them will cause you to have your leg broken in the most horrific way possible, you really think you're not going to pick that one? I mean, come on. How is that? Like, you have free will as long as you choose all of the things that God wants you to choose, you know? Like, yeah, yeah, nonsense. So, uh, okay, so your child is born, but not healed from God because of your own free will, AJ. Shame on you. Um,
Or original sin,
Or
one or the
original sin.
other.
Right.
Who
We're not
knows?
positive. We're not positive. Either it was some chick with an apple or you, but either way, women are to blame. That's what I'm getting.
Exactly.
It always comes back to it. Always comes back to that. But so was there a moment at that point? Um, was there some big stark moment where you were like, okay, obviously this Jesus thing isn't working, or um did it just start to kind of slowly fall away as you started to talk more with doctors and stuff?
Oh no, there was a. I remember the exact moment.
Oh, really?
But it didn't come for years.
Really?
It didn't come until years later. So,
Wow.
um, when the baby was born, and then they determined that he had a heart condition, and we were gonna go um, through with some surgeries, but they were like, these are done generally around 6 months
Mm.
of age, because their newborn heart is like a tiny
Yeah.
little thing, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
just like the size, probably like a strawberry or something like that. And so operating in such a small heart is really tricky. So we go home after they stabilized everything and determined that we could go home. And then I think it was like 11 weeks old.
Mm.
There was a morning where he just stopped breathing. It was just like face was purple, lips were blue, and I was freaking out. And so eventually we made it to the hospital, and they determined that he was having seizures because of the low level of oxygen to the brain.
Mm.
So they admit him and has the first open heart surgery at right around that time, like 12 weeks. So I was 3 months old. And so after the recovery period, we go back home. Everything was going pretty well,
Mhm.
you know, considering the circumstances.
Right.
Um, so 2020 comes around, and so this was so the first surgery was 2011, and then 2020 comes along, and throughout all this time, we did like checkups every. It started with every 3 weeks, then it was okay
Mhm.
every 6 months, then it was okay, let's do it for every year or so.
Right.
And for about 2 years or so, we were able to do a year apart. And then they were like, well, he's in heart failure now, so
Mm.
we have to do something now. Because generally, with this heart condition, very specific heart condition, you want to wait as long as you can for the valve replacements because of the size. If
Yeah.
you do them too early, they only last about 10 years, which is the average. It can be a lot less, it can be a little bit more.
Yeah.
So they prefer to do it in the teenage years where some of the major growth has passed.
Right.
And
Right.
and so you can give them a valve that will last them into adulthood, and then we'll have another one.
Right.
So, but with my kid, just like with myself, we weird. Our body's like, fuck that. You, no. You're not normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me give you some extra.
You don't work on other people's timelines. That's what it is. You march to the
Yeah,
beat of your own drum.
exactly. And so 9 years old, and they needed the second open heart surgery
Mm.
because they tried to do what's called a CAT procedure, which they go through the leg and try to replace the
Mm.
valve. But because their size was not proper, was not a good size to put in an artificial valve, then they had to do
Right.
another open heart surgery. So that was the second open heart surgery.
Mm.
That's when the time came. Okay, do you want me to tell you that part?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Please.
Uh,
Please.
okay, so this was, like I said, 2020. Think in the middle of COVID. It was like November 2020. So
Mm.
we were right in the middle of
Mhm.
all of these
Things were
crazy
weird for
rules,
sure.
and yeah,
Mhm.
um, we got lucky that they had loosened slightly the regulations at that specific hospital,
Mm.
so that two parents could, or two guardians, I guess we should say, two people could stay
Yeah.
with the child, with the minor. Um, but you couldn't have, throughout the whole stay, you could only have those two people.
Wow.
Nobody else could swap with you. It was just, yeah. So we got lucky in that sense that we could both be there. But so the surgery happens, and the first night, so I remember doing the first surgery, we had family come over and pray, and we would also pray and stuff like that. This time around,
Mhm.
since no family was coming around, it was a little bit different. It was just
Yeah.
us and our thoughts, right?
Right.
And a lot of silence, a lot of self-reflection. And so the first night, um my husband had to sometimes, sometimes go to work and then come back. And so I would let him sleep during the night, and I would stay up, sit by the bed and stuff.
Mhm.
And so the first night comes, and it was rough because we imagine just having had your chest cracked open, and
Yeah.
then the nurse is like, we got to take you to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's 5 steps away, But those 5 steps, you have to get there. You
Yeah.
have to get up off the bed and walk there. And it was freaking brutal. Like, you imagine the process with like a 9-year-old child doing that. And so back in the bed, after that initial attempt at going to the restroom, we put him back to the bed, and everything was dark, and I'm sitting there and just looking at him, and I try to like make a little bit of conversation, and he just says, "I can't talk. It hurts to talk." So I was like, okay, I will just sit here quietly and like hold your hand. And I just sat there quietly for hours, watching him. He couldn't sleep, and I couldn't sleep, obviously, because he couldn't sleep. I wasn't gonna sleep if he was just laying there awake in pain.
Right.
And we were maxed on all the painkillers and anything that they could give for comfort, right? And anxiety medications and all of that stuff. And that was the moment. That was when I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And your first reaction may be like, okay, man, I'm gonna pray. But like, I was like, I don't even know what to pray for here. Because if I pray for you to stop his pain, for God to stop his pain, why did he put him through it in the first place? Like, why did this 9-year-old child, what did a 9-year-old do to deserve going through this, to deserve this, right? And is it because of something I did? Then why don't you just fucking punish me?
Yeah.
Like, that's just wrong. And so that's when I was started to like be like, I can't pray. I can't thank this God for like this however many weeks we were in the hospital. Thank you, God. That really taught me a lesson.
Right.
Like, no.
Right.
So yeah. But I didn't come out publicly until a little bit later than that. But like, that was the moment where I was like, for myself, I was like, this is it.
And I think a story like that gets undercut by so many in the religious apologetics space. And also, I think, unfortunately, a story like that gets undercut by many in the, philosophy, skeptical, bro kind of space too. Because what so many people, I can hear it now, they'll say, oh, okay, so you rejected God for emotional reasons. I see. You're not very, logical about it. Clearly you don't care about the truth and, all. It's like, and in reality, I mean, you literally lived through the philosophical problem of evil. I mean, you literally lived through this in real time and had to wrestle with what that actually means for this world. I mean, it means that God sat there the whole freaking time, knowing 2 open heart surgeries, knowing how much time in the hospital during COVID, like knew all of that crap and still put you through it for any reason. I don't even care. Like pick a reason. Like, I don't care what you did. That is crazy. That is absolutely absurd that a being like that could even exist, and just what an absolutely incredibly difficult. Yeah, please.
Yeah, no, just think about it in the way that we look at parenting, right? Because people would say, God is your father and you have this relationship with him and stuff. So if my child at 2 years old was running into the street and there's cars coming, would I allow free will to do what it gotta do? Or will I violate that free will for their safety?
Right. Yeah. You grab that child as hard as you freaking can. I'm gonna violate the crap out of that free will for a minute there. Like, you don't get to move. I don't care. You cry all you want, man. Don't run into the street.
So if God is like, oh, you smoked all these fucking cigarettes, now you got cancer, but you don't want it. But you know what? I'm gonna let you be punished because
Right.
you chose to smoke the cigarettes.
Right. Don't violate my free will, God. No. No.
So
Yeah, all those babies in the Bible that were murdered though didn't violate their free will. Somehow healing your child is a unforgivable sin, but murdering all those
wait,
unnamed Amalekites. Yeah.
I heard this really funny one about babies. So I don't know if you know who Erin Lewis is.
Oh
She's
yeah.
an
Oh yeah.
author. Okay, so she and
Amazing.
I were doing a live call-in show, and somebody calls in, and we are trying to get him to answer the question of why does God allow childhood cancer? Because
Mhm.
her nephew passed away from childhood cancer,
Mm.
and this guy goes on a bunch of tangents to avoid answering the question, and one of them was that babies are born in sin.
Mhm.
And so we ask, well, what is the action that babies take
Mhm.
to sin at birth? And he's
Right.
like, well, being born in itself. And
Oh.
I'm like, okay, but what causes, like, how is that sinful? And he's like, well, when you're born, you're born blind, and they grab you upside down and slap you in the butt, and so you get angry, and anger is a sin. So babies are born angry and therefore
What?
sinners because they
What?
cried at birth. I
What?
kid you not. It's
I'm not even
true.
sure that that's true. I don't even think that's. I don't think that Okay, I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just pain. Maybe they're just in pain. Like,
Confused, you know.
yeah. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know on that one, AJ. I'm gonna have to think on it, but it
It
feels
was
wrong.
bad.
It
It
feels.
felt, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
gosh,
Huh.
yeah. I mean, it led to him saying that us atheists kill people by being
Right.
angry because
Right. Right.
we're
Right.
so angry that people are dying because of us, because we are
Well,
angry.
I am not and I don't think you are either in general. Both of us, I think, um, do a pretty good job of not, exemplifying that angry atheist kind of thing. At the same time, I think there is some justifiable anger when you've watched your child lay in the hospital for 2 freaking weeks in agony. And for the last 5 years, a group of people have been telling you to just pray it away. I can't fault anybody for being pissed off at that. I mean, just outright pissed. I mean, because yeah, like this whole time, I could have been looking into other things, I could have been doing other things, and then to especially pile on top of that, like, well, I mean, in fairness, you're probably a shitty person, which is why your child's in pain. Like, it's God's punishing you. Like, that's terrible. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be mad about that.
It is. It is. Then there's also for me the harm of believing
Mm,
in this idea that God can heal you but
yeah.
doesn't because of whatever reason. And also the idea that, well, another one I've heard, right? Like, well, we go through suffering in
Mm,
order to gain eternal life, and like
yeah.
there's no more suffering afterwards. So like put up with the suffering here, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that leads you to a lack of caring
Yeah.
and a lack of trying to find a solution for that
I
problem,
agree.
right? In the case of childhood cancer, there's been very few cures, or like, more effective treatments that have come
Mm-hmm.
out in the last 30 years or so. There have been some advances in some research and stuff, but it's so underfunded that it's almost impossible to come up with new
Yeah.
ones. And because majorly adult cancers are the ones that are being given more attention to,
Mm-hmm.
then childhood cancer research goes by the wayside. Um, but so because you're promised this eternal life, then whatever happens here is like, yeah, never mind.
Right.
the
Right.
cancer, the children with cancer will be fine. If they
Right.
die, they die.
Right. Right. It takes one of the most upsetting and traumatic things that happens to every single one of us, which is this cycle of life and death, right? We will all experience this, many times in our lives. We will experience death around us, and it will be it will hit us to our core. It will wreck us. We will feel absolutely broken, and yet there is this whole ideology and these organizations that are celebrating it almost. I mean, they're like happy that it happened to the kid because yeah, now it's just another flower in God's garden. What a traumatic, what an upsetting thing. I mean, how do you not get pissed off at something like that?
Yeah, like you have to accept that God had a plan or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
needed
Yeah.
another angel or
Right.
whatever the reasoning you have to make in order to make it make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So you're sitting there, you've given your life over to Christ, your whole family, you're deep in it. You start to have these experiences, kind of coming in contact a little bit more with science and so forth, that medical stuff coming in. I mean, again, the things we can do with the body, right? I mean, just talking about the replacement valve, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is basically as close to magic as we've ever gotten, right?
Yeah.
And then you finally have this moment where you're sitting there and you're just like, okay, this shit doesn't make any sense anymore. Um, what happened from there? How did you start, really getting into science and stuff? And did you immediately jump into it? Did you just start speaking out right away? What led you to here?
Well, the thing is that my mom, she was an atheist while we were growing up, and so we weren't really raised with any kind of religious exposure.
Okay.
We did have
Yeah.
religious books at home, but like the majority of the books, which was like walls covered in books, were science books, history
Okay.
books, all kinds of like mythologies and stuff like that. So the Bible and Quran and stuff were kind of mixed up in there with all of the
Yeah.
other Greek mythologies and Norse and all that stuff. And so I never really like Jesus. To me was my neighbor,
Mhm.
like growing up in Argentina. Okay, I can make that joke.
Yeah.
Uh, but so I didn't really have any experience with religion until I moved to the US.
Mm,
And for me, science was this thing that always reminded me of my mom. And
mm,
once this happened with my kid's surgery, and around the same time they were being diagnosed with OCD,
mm.
and the OCD part was really was a new thing. Like I'd
Yeah.
heard of it, right? Like you see it in the movies, but you're not sure exactly what it entails. And when you
Right.
see it and it looks so different than what you had heard it was supposed to be like, like
Mhm.
light switches on and off
Mhm.
and locking the door and stuff, and it was not that. So I had to start looking into what exactly is it and why is that happening. And
Yeah.
that's when I got into studying more in that um, the brain and like, hey, why do people have hallucinations?
Mm.
Why do people's anxiety make them do things in order to appease that anxiety? But then it's I know it's a full cycle.
Mhm.
Um, and so that helped me. That really helped me understand what was happening with the behavior. Um, like to separate the behavior from the person, right? Like this person isn't this behavior.
Right.
And like my child, like the way my child was behaving was nothing like it had been before, whatever triggered this condition to come on very suddenly. And so being able to understand that also helped me, like I said, come out of my own supernatural beliefs that I was holding on to from religion, like
Yeah.
ghosts, spirits, demons. The idea of heaven and hell also went away, because if there is no souls, then there's no need for there to be a heaven or hell.
Right.
And so yeah, that's how I ended up here. And I think a lot of the shows that that I was watching were, I started with Forrest Valkyrie, so, and then with his channel, because it had a lot of sciencey stuff. And then one day YouTube was like, oh hey, here's Forrest's face on AXP, and I was like, okay, what's that? And so I started watching the Atheist Experience, and I was like, I was hooked after that. Like, it was like a really cool community, and that I felt. I think everybody, a lot of people who go to church feel that sense of losing part of, like, hey, there's no more potlucks, or there's no more book clubs,
Yeah.
there's no more Sundays, whatever you do. Um, and so that's what this community also gave me, right? Like that sense of belonging somewhere, or like people having the same experiences or very similar experiences to what I had had. And yeah.
That's awesome. And so it really was this, it was for you understanding what is going on inside of each and every one of us, right? Completely outside of our control, right? There are things firing, there are chemicals spewing out everywhere, and understanding that for you led you to this place of being able to kind of shed all these other beliefs that you had. Did it give you a different sense of like other people as well? Do you feel like you interacted differently with people? Do you feel like you you maybe like took the things they said differently? Did that shift at all?
I'm not really sure, but I think I started paying more attention to, um, I will say, one of the ideas that I shared was the idea that people are evil.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
do some people do terrible things?
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. We can't deny that. But it helped me explain why they do what they do. And as I always say this, an explanation is not an excuse, right? Like, I can explain somebody's terrible behavior while not making excuses for it, but
Right.
it's helping me understand it. And generally, it does go back to that saying that I'm sure we've all heard: hurt people, right?
For
So
sure.
if you're somebody that was raised with some kind of trauma, or you underwent some kind of trauma um, as an adult, that has shaped you into a different person, this new understanding of how the brain works, how trauma works, how childhood shapes majorly who we become as adults,
Right.
that really helped me understand why people do the things they do, and give them a little bit more grace and a little bit more understanding, and more space to change, or to realize what is wrong with what they're doing, or what is wrong with what they're saying, why this idea is not a good idea. And that, between all of that and epistemology, like, it all helped me. I would say, yeah, definitely changed the way I interact with people in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah. So you have made this claim, and I just I wanna highlight it, because I kind of have this feeling that somebody's gonna give us shit for it, which is
So,
great, which is what I love. I want somebody to hear this claim and be like, you can't back that up, you know. You say science turns you atheist. And this, I mean, again, you have lived this out yourself. This is a story that is very core to your existence and how you understand the world now and so forth. What do you mean, AJ? I hear that there's a bunch of really great science done in the young Earth creationist realm. I hear that these guys are knocking it out of the park. So how in the world does science turn you atheist?
I have to say that is not science. That is pseudoscience for sure. Right? And it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. If you think you can twist and turn
Mm,
um the science to match all of these completely irrational beliefs, then yeah, you might think to yourself, I'm doing the science.
mhm, mhm.
But you're not. What you're doing is twisting it, and with your own bias. And this is why majorly the majority of scientists are not religious.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the statistics. I know it was Neil deGrasse Tyson that gave this a couple of years ago, and I think it was something like, I'm probably wrong, but it may have been something like 3 to 7% of astrophysicists are religious.
Wow.
It's a
Under 10.
really smart, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not smart. It's a really small
Yeah.
portion of them.
Yeah.
And the reason for this, he was saying, he compared the different sciences and the different levels of religiosity
Mm,
throughout the sciences, right? Like, I think he was comparing like biologists and engineers and stuff like that, right? And the ones that study the universe and the cosmos are the ones that seem to have the lowest religiosity.
interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's because
Interesting.
they do study that whole aspect of like, hey, you know, there's space and there's the universe, and we
Mm,
know that it started this long ago. That doesn't match with the scripture or the idea
right.
that it started, 6,000 years ago or so. And I do think that we can be allies with
Mm,
religious people, right? And we can set aside our belief versus non-belief
mhm,
and partner with people who are religious but are much more progressive, right? And who do have a better understanding of the actual science. But believing in God in itself, for me, those generally, and again, I'm not saying it's every single case, but
right.
generally lead to bad ideas and bad science and believing in conspiracies and pseudoscience stuff. Um, One great example would be this firm rule of having only God having created only men and women, right?
Right.
Which completely misses the fact that biological sex and gender are not the same thing.
Right.
But by holding on to this idea, it can lead people to claim that, both gender and sex are binary, and that there's only those two, and that anything else is an abnormality, as you could
Mm,
call it, right? But it's a really fun fact. And I think this fact could potentially lead these people to be okay with abortions because
mm,
fetuses, embryos more specifically, like during the first couple weeks, are what we would consider non binary.
mhm.
So I don't know. I don't
Right,
know.
right, right. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like,
Good thoughts there. Also,
so,
if Jesus only came from Mary, I mean, what does that make him, right? Good question. Also, if there's only two categories and then abnormalities, wouldn't that make three categories at the very least,
mm,
right?
yeah.
Anyway.
So I do want to point out, like, that um, it doesn't mean that they're neutral. Non-binary and neutral are a little bit different terms.
Yeah.
Right. But the tissues look and function the same for the first like 7 or so weeks, and you cannot differentiate them. That's the word that you said, right?
Right.
And now the chromosomes were determined at fertilization,
Sure.
but the chromosomes are not the only thing that are going to determine what one is going to look like outside after you're fully developed.
Right.
There can be differences in during that development in hormone levels in genes that can lead to having XY chromosomes, but also female looking outer parts and internal reproductive system.
Right.
So the tissue that looks all of the same in this early development can develop uniquely into these different sexual characteristics. And despite the claim that, oh my God, these are so rare, that's not true. That's not true. They're not really rare. They're as common as having red hair.
Yeah.
So if you see a redhead out there, if you know several redheads, then you more than likely do know several intersex people.
Yeah. Yeah.
More than likely do.
Yeah. The numbers are surprisingly because I remember looking up some statistics not long ago, and I kept seeing numbers like 1 in 1,000, 1 in 500, 1 in 250 or something. And it's like, I just casually see 1,000 people a day, not even on purpose, just like going grocery shopping and stuff in a major city. Like, you just encounter this many people on a daily life. Like, the likelihood is so high. And it's just not for many people, honestly, it's just something that has never, come up in a way that they have needed to even go investigate certain things about themselves. Like, I don't actually know what my chromosomes are, just to be super real. Like, I've never done a test. I don't, it's never been the case for me. I have no freaking clue. So, what does it matter? Like,
that's the case for the majority of people. Majority of people don't just randomly go have it done. I had it done because I had a lot of genetic stuff, right?
Makes sense.
But there are variations. They're not abnormalities. We have, how many eye colors are there? How many skin colors, hair colors, texture?
Right. I used to think when I was a kid, honestly, for a really, really long time, like, I used to think like, oh yeah, there's only like, blue and brown and like green eyes. Like, that's pretty much it. And then it's like, well, so no, there's a lot. And I was like, really? There's more than that? There's like more than just those colors? And it's like, yeah, there's a crazy amount actually. And there's slight variations between all of them. It's like, no way, really? I just thought, well, that's okay. It's simple. You just have naturally occurring, brown hair or blonde hair or red hair. And that's it. It's easy. A brown. That's it. It's easy. It's done. And it's like, well, no. So yeah, no, again, there's a lot of different combinations. There's a lot of different, I mean, that's just everything about us as people. It's all a spectrum. Everything is like that. Why can't we just be comfortable with that?
Right. Like, it's not like we have binary hair colors and eye colors, and it's like, no, it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. So why wouldn't biological sex be the same? Right? It's just a variation. You just can't be like, oh my gosh, it's just, atrocities.
Right. And again, not to say that there's not a large grouping in any capacity. Like, yeah, a bunch of people in the world have brown hair. Like, that's not crazy to say that. Like, yes, there are a lot of people with brown hair. There are less people in the world with naturally occurring red hair. Like, okay, like, but that's not, again, like, that's not anything crazy. We shouldn't now just start kicking out all the redheaded people from bathrooms and shit. Like, good God.
The redheaded bathroom.
Right. Nobody, the frustration with that is, it just feels like sometimes we're in this we're just too close to this place where it's like you don't even want to make a joke about that because next thing you know, there's just a sign on the local bathroom. It's just
Don't give them ideas.
I know. But okay, so it seems like tell me if I'm understanding you correctly in part here, that one of the things that makes you say, hey, look, science makes you an atheist comes back to literally just whether or not the world around us actually agrees with the teachings in the religions. And it kind of sounds to me like you're just saying, hey man, when you look at it, they don't line up. And it's just that. I mean, is it just that simple?
It really is. It really is. I don't think there's like really much else you can paint it as, right?
Yeah.
Because once you understand these phenomenons that you've
Mhm.
never questioned, because you don't question God, right?
Right.
You can't. And I think a lot of people just they don't simply go from one day to the next, oh, I'm an atheist today.
Mhm.
And even it's something that like it chips at you. Like a small thing can happen that like, oh, wait, actually that, maybe I can't
Mm.
explain it, and then it grows and grows from there. Another indication for me that science turns you atheist was the realization that a lot of the people in our community, especially, deconverted after they went to college or
Oh,
university and
yeah.
studying more and taking, classes that went more in depth into biology and
Mhm.
on or even evolution and all that stuff. And so it's like, okay, so these people are getting educated outside of their normal bubble of whatever religion you were brought up on,
Mhm.
and your family and your church community. They go to this completely separate part of their world now, right? Of their own world, I mean. And they're exposed to different cultures because colleges are full of people that are studying from all kinds of backgrounds. And
Right.
it's no longer just the people in your family and in your church community, right? Which we know tends to be quite segregated,
Mhm.
churches in general.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so if you were not exposed to all of these different cultures, having that experience in college, in university, it gives you that. And then you're like, okay, hey, I met this gay person and he didn't like hit on me. Like if pretend
Mm.
I'm a guy, right? Like
Right.
I met this gay guy and like he just like we had lunch and
Yeah,
it wasn't a
yeah.
date, you
Right,
know?
right. That's always, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that is always the thing that comes up. It's always like, well, what if he hits on me? Like, what if he tries to kiss me or whatever? And it's like, I have to put my hand on the shoulder of so many heterosexual men and be like, hey, Bill, you're not that attractive. Like, it's okay. Like, I promise you, like nobody is restraining themselves that hard from just like macking all over you, bro. Like you're not a
You'll
bad
be
looking
okay.
guy, but like for fuck's sake, man, it's not like, we're all just struggling to contain ourselves. Like, you know, like it's all,
That's so true. Yeah,
you
that
know,
is so true.
fucking crazy.
Uh, but yeah, it's like when somebody has this experience of meeting somebody that's so different and
Right.
that they were raised believing was sinful and
Mm,
evil and heathens, right? And sinners. And it's like, okay, they're not, they're just a human being. And I think that that can often lead people to be like, well, if this bad idea was being taught to me
mhm.
since childhood, what other ones are there? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, a quick segue into what we were talking about earlier, like the March for Science, right?
Yes, please.
Like this ties in because the reason I started organizing the March for Science for the Houston chapter was because our current leadership's first term there was so much misinformation
Mm,
surrounding science. There was so much pseudoscience and so much literally anti-science. Right, we
yeah.
were pulling away from the Paris Agreement regarding the environmental protections and being like global warming. Fuck that. It's
Mhm.
been really cold. How can there be global warming?
Right. There's been so
You
much
know,
snow.
and so yeah, so we did the March for Science, and I win a book.
Woo!
Okay, so it's called Science, Not Silence, because one of the tags that we were using was to attract more scientists to join, was scientists walking out of the lab and into the
Mm,
streets and protesting. And
love that.
it was really awesome because here in Houston we have the largest medical center in the world, right?
Mhm.
The Texas Medical Center, which has a ton of different hospitals. Like that's Texas Children is where they have the number one heart surgery hospital in the
Right.
U.S. This Baylor College, this McGovern, what is it? The Women's Science Center, not Baylor, St. Luke's. This is MD Anderson, the major cancer treatment center.
That's awesome.
And so we reached out to so many doctors and researchers and
Mm,
had nurses, medical students. There were so many people in lab coats. It was
really?
amazing. Like they literally came in their lab coats just to show that that thing of like walking out of the lab and into the street.
Yeah.
And it was such a really cool thing to see this amount of people. I think it was the police said they estimated around 15,000 people that came out.
Wow. That's
And
incredible.
so, like, thinking of all of these people out of the opposite end that you see of like flat earth and anti-vax and
Mhm.
anti-abortion and all of this, and it's like you like grabbing your head and thinking like, oh, where are the sane people? So being surrounded by 15,000 people that are sane people that are like pro science, that are
It's a
pro
big deal.
vaccines, and it was a really really awesome feeling.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wish
That's
we should do that again.
yeah.
I
That's an
should-
awesome, awesome thing, and I'd love to see that across the country. And um,
Oh
eh,
yeah, it was major. It was like all over the country. This was
right,
like really really
there was
yeah
a bunch of different major cities that were
yeah.
doing them at the same, yeah, and a bunch of money was raised and a bunch of attention and stuff. And um, I I I feel like, tell me if you feel this as well. I feel like there was a period of time, maybe not my lifetime, maybe a little bit before, we were born, um, but there feels like there was a period of time where everybody was really jazzed on technology. Everybody was really jazzed on science. Like, whenever something new came out, everybody's really I mean, the polio vaccine, right? Like, I mean, all of a sudden there are people, just average people in the streets, just talking about how amazing chemistry and biology is. And over the last handful of years, I don't know exactly how long it's been going on, but we've gotten more and more distrustful of science. We've started to almost sneer at it when somebody tells us they're in a science-y kind of background or something. Um, why? What am I wrong? Am I misinterpreting that? If so, please help me understand. Um, if I've got it right, then AJ, why the hell have we started, this war on science? I mean, so to speak, you know?
I don't even know what the heck happened. Like, where did we go from? Hey, let's go to the moon
Right.
to like the moon is causing you to be autistic. I don't know. I
Right,
mean, I just
right.
made that one up. Okay,
No,
I
it'll
made that one
probably be out there
up.
again. It'll probably be out there in another week. I'm sure it'll be,
Probably, probably. Yeah. I don't know at what point, but like I said, this March for Science happened in 2017, and I think since then it just it just never went back, despite having that break in between those 4 years of like, where there was also COVID and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, that actually, yeah, that didn't go very well either, right? That didn't
No.
go very well either because like there was so much anti-science about wearing masks and
Right.
getting the vaccine and like where did it come from and all of
Right.
these conspiracy
Masks, by the way,
theories.
a scientifically proven way to stop spreading disease since like the 1400s.
Listen,
Like, we've
listen.
been doing it. We've been doing it for a long time.
Like, why did you think? Okay, I've had a shit ton of surgeries. We can talk about that in a moment, right? Like I've had a cochlear implant and all that kind of stuff. But I don't ever remember being wheeled into an operating room where somebody wasn't wearing a fucking mask.
You'd be freaked out. You'd be like, "Where's that guy's mask?" I don't want to coughing
Right.
all over my chest. Like, get that guy a mask. What are you doing, bro? Like,
And like,
yeah.
why? Right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
why?
yeah,
Think
for good
about it,
reason.
guys. Think
Yeah, for
about
good
it for a
reason.
second.
Yeah, for good reason. Also, I remember one of the things I remember people really freaking out about was like they didn't like the fact that we couldn't gather in groups because apparently they didn't understand that if you bring a bunch of sick people and non-sick people together, like it spreads. They didn't get that. But the fact that there was different rules for like indoor versus outdoor gatherings, and the outdoor gatherings were a little bit less restricted, and people were like losing their minds over this concept. They're like, "Whoa, like what? The virus doesn't work at a park, man." I mean, like, and it's like, I mean, come on, guys. You
Mm,
have to understand the difference between an enclosed environment,
airflow.
uh-huh, and an outdoor with germ. You have to get that. But apparently that science was just a little bit too complicated for them, I guess.
I always give this example when people would try to tell me, masks don't work. Okay, let's try this for a second. Let's both of us stand in front of each other and like take a sip of water and spit in each other's faces. Now,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a mask and I'm going to do that and spit. How much spit are you getting on your face? Now
Mm-hmm.
let's both of us put a mask on
Mm-hmm.
and I'll do the thing again. Did you get
Mm-hmm.
some less? You probably didn't get any around, the parts that you had the mask on. Like,
Right.
did you get zero? Maybe not. Zero is probably not what you're going to achieve.
Right.
But it
Right.
probably went from 100% to like,
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
like under 25%.
Yeah. We're not talking a small change here. We're not saying like, man, it just helps your chances by like, maybe 3%, like 10%. Like, no, we're talking like overwhelming majority of the problem is cut down. And again, it's really obvious. I love that example about the we'll just do spit takes on each other for a second and we'll see. I'd make them put the mask on and try to spit at me, and I'd be like, all right, now with no mask, here we go, and just hit him right in the face with it. I mean, God.
But yeah, that always made people think about it. Like, oh, okay, maybe, yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's what's frustrating is how clear some of the things are, especially that a handful of years ago we were fighting in so many ways. I mean, I've talked about this multiple times with friends of mine that I've lived in Middle Tennessee for my whole life at this point, and so over over a couple of decades I have I have watched in real time the season shift. Like, it's not, our climate has changed in front of me. Like, it has occurred. You can track it. Like, it is not, it's not a guess. Like, it's clear. And yet, the fact that, I mean, I feel like we've almost pretty much gotten over that hill. Like, everybody seems to accept, climate change more or less these days. But like, it is wild to me how these scientific findings slap us in the face sometimes, left and right. Like, for instance, again, like the whole COVID thing. I mean, crazy how once we got these vaccines out there, like it's just not like it's
On
just
the
not a
like,
thing.
see, it wasn't that bad.
It's just it's like no, we made one of the most advanced vaccines ever in an incredibly short time because we actually put resources behind it. And funny enough, it worked. It's like when it slaps you in the face that hard, it blows my mind that people will still hang on to some of the ideas and some of the beliefs that they have. But because I do my best to I'm supposed to be hosting here. I'm supposed to like tie threads together and themes or whatever. Help me if I'm wrong here. It's because of their freaking brain at the end of the day, though, right? I mean, the reason that they're not coming over to these scientific things, these findings and all of that, at the end of the day, really is coming back to the neurons in their brain and the chemicals and all that jazz.
Well, yeah, I think so, because you see, like we mentioned earlier, childhood shapes your adult brain,
Mm,
right? Before you even start setting permanent memories, which happens around age 5-ish, before that time, your brain is already undergoing some really, really major shifts and
mm.
making connections. And um, there's this book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Ooh.
And it talks about, despite not remembering something, actively having that memory, your body does. And that's what happens before that age. The
Mm,
body does keep the score, and it does develop those more permanent brain wirings. And once the parts that can set memories finish developing, then you start setting those memories, right?
mm.
But the way that your brain was shaped before that will say a lot about the way you behave as an adult.
Interesting.
And if your brain during childhood was developed in a way that doesn't allow for flexibility of thinking, that's the adult brain that you're going to get, right?
Mm,
It can be changed. It can be the neuroplasticity is a thing, right? Your brain can
right.
be rewired through new experiences. This is why, for example, with OCD, they do what is called exposure therapy. And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
they expose you to the triggers for your anxiety and for a specific thought, and then which then you will normally take a specific action for, right? Like, if it can be completely unreasonable, as we could call it. Let's say you're thinking that if you don't I don't know, line up your phone in a certain way on the table,
Right.
then your husband is gonna get in a car wreck. So it's completely unrelated,
Right.
right? So in a way you would think it's unreasonable. To your brain, it totally makes sense. And your brain
Yeah.
is wired in that way that no matter what you do, no matter how many ways you line up the phone, it's always gonna seem wrong. And
Mm,
so what exposure therapy does is you don't line up the phone. You just you just set it in a way that will trigger your anxiety and your thought of, your husband is gonna get into a car wreck. And you let that anxiety build up and then come down. Obviously with
mm.
in the safety of
Right.
no, where with a trained therapist. Do not try
Right.
this at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just giving the example of how therapists work to rewire somebody's brain. And so when you're talking about people not being open to
Mm,
science, you have to find the way to sneak that in. And that's why I said earlier that I like to talk about different brain topics that are not
mhm.
necessarily related to something that people will relate to their religion or
Right.
their hateful ideology, like trans people, there's only men and women and all that. Like, I may not go directly into that, but then I will make something that makes people think about, oh, okay, hey, I didn't know that thing.
Mm.
I didn't know that's how music affected your physical body and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really the only way that we can counter people who are not quite open to
Yeah.
science. Like you have to be very subtle and not be like, well, this is the proof that whatever you're saying is wrong.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that view, and I totally agree with it. I think there is such great value in education simply for education's sake. I think that that alone is such a massive, massive catalyst for people shedding bad and harmful, unfounded ideas. And again, I look at it in a very similar way as you do in this sense of like, man, actually, I mean, what has to happen is the reason this person is rejecting, good vaccine information or this climate change stuff or that we landed on the moon. I mean, there's a billion things, right? Um, is in large part because of literally the shape and structure of their brain right now.
Yeah.
And thank goodness that the brain has this amazing ability to grow new and destroy old connections and change stuff around and all of that goodness. But um yeah, I think with that realization comes a little bit more grace to other people, a little bit more charity to other people, and it starts to take away kind of something you touched on earlier about that evilness in other
Hmm.
people, right? And it becomes more about the how do I how do I present this information in a way that reaches somebody that can give them that opportunity to kind of build those new neural pathways.
Yeah.
That
Sometimes
that
it doesn't work,
yeah,
though.
I was gonna ask if
I
it
have
always works, but yeah,
no, no. I have a pretty good example actually,
yeah.
which can lead us into the next topic. But see, I was having this conversation with somebody who is very religious and also holds this idea that there's only male and female biology, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And that how trans people should not have surgeries. That's what she was saying. And
Okay.
so I was like, okay, let's go with that for a second. So if it's God's will, if God created everybody perfect in His image, then this is the reason why you don't think trans people should have surgeries. Do you think that women who have small breasts and want to have bigger ones should get surgery? Like,
Okay. Yeah, good question.
I was like, oh, he was like, well, he wouldn't answer the question. We'll
Yeah, I bet he
continue
wouldn't.
saying everybody's more perfect. And I'm like, okay, let's make it a little bit more personal. This is somebody that I know personally, right? And I was like, what about me? I've had a double corneal transplant. I
Mhm.
have a cochlear implant. I used to have a nerve stimulator for pain on my spine. I was like, should I not have had these surgeries
Right.
because I was created perfect in God's image and He created me with the purpose of me suffering through all of that struggle. And again, He went with, well, you should appreciate the body that you were given. God made you out
Mm,
perfect and all. Like He would refuse to answer the question straight up, like yes or no. It was
right,
just more and more of that. And so that you know sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you
right.
just can't reason with people, no matter how close to home you go, or no matter which way you explain it. And for me, that thought, it prevents science from being developed. Because
Mm,
if we allowed every deaf person, not allowed, but like if we forced every deaf person to not have any type of surgical intervention to
right,
improve the quality of life, because God,
right,
then we wouldn't have cochlear implants. We
right.
wouldn't have the technological advances that we've had with uh with these amazing technologies.
Yeah, it's that recognition that things aren't perfect, that things aren't being controlled by some all-powerful, all-knowing force. I think that really drives me and drives so many of the people that I know, to do all the things that they do. And that includes scientists. I mean, that is some of the greatest advancements we've achieved in this life, is because we had a sense that, yeah, this stuff at the end of the day is all here or not here because of us. And if we want something better, we're the ones that are going to have to do it. And we don't just get to wish for it. We
Yeah.
have to build it. We have to construct it ourselves. And I love that. I love that thought.
Yeah.
And I think it is, I think we have so many more awesome things that I would love to talk with you about, AJ. Music and the brain is such an awesomely cool subject. I am a huge fan of that. I love music.
Oh yeah, me too.
I have wanted to talk about music in so many different ways for so long. But unfortunately, we are nearing the end of this one, but that's okay, because we'll leave people with a cliffhanger. I love for people to finish the episode and be like, "Oh my God, what about all that other stuff?" And so I will just have to twist your arm and bug
let
you
me
and let you come back. So yeah,
yeah,
please, if you
yeah.
got anything else.
Let me give people a little bit of incentive to come
Yeah,
back and
yeah,
listen to the.
I love
Okay,
it.
so before the show, you and I were talking about cyborgs, right?
Yeah.
Like what is like for the future, I guess. Like, will we ever have some cyborgs? And I kind of am one, right? And one of the really cool technological advances that cochlear implants have is Bluetooth.
Yeah,
It has
yeah.
Bluetooth. And the only reason I'm able to do these shows like this, is that, like, the quality is really good in person, right? It's like something like 68% hearing from up from what it used to be like 8%,
Wow.
right? So it's a pretty major change. But when I'm connected through the Bluetooth into either a little microphone or through my phone or through the computer, which all three of them can connect to in some way to my cochlear implant. And nobody else can hear what I'm hearing. Only I can hear it. But it's kind of like surround sound. Like I hear all over I hear it in my brain. I don't hear
You're
it like in
That's
the ear.
exactly what I was about to say, is your brain is connected to Bluetooth right now.
It is.
That's amazing.
And so I can play really high quality music directly into my brain and nobody else has any idea. So
That
if I'm ever with you and you see like a blue light flashing, I'm listening to music.
you're just like jamming out. Yeah, yeah, I love that. That is awesome. Well, that
There you
and
go.
music and some more brain stuff is definitely what we're gonna have to talk about some more next time. It was very difficult to get you to agree to do this one, so I'm sure it will be also as difficult
Sure.
next time. But in between now and then, I know people are going to be hungry for some sciencey stuff. They're going to be hungry for some humanism and some community and stuff. And you have a wonderful channel that has a lot of really great stuff already out on it. And I know you will have even more. So please tell everybody how they can follow you around and watch all the great stuff you do.
Yeah, so two ways. One is the Ways to Human channel, right? And YouTube channel. And I do post like most of the sciencey stuff that I post is on the videos, but then
Mhm.
I also do live shows with a guest, and I generally try to keep it to something that's like sort of educational in some way. But also, for some reason, don't ask me why, but there's this channel called Skeptic Haven,
Mhm. Mhm.
and they were like, "Hey, come host." You and I hosted like a couple nights ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, you came on last minute, thank you. And they gave me a whole show to host, and we want to make it kind of, again, something that is giving people value, something valuable, some kind of information, um, something to learn from. Hey, do you have questions about, I don't know, something? It can be anything from video games. I'm sure we'll have somebody that knows about video games. So Chad Harris probably knows
Oh yeah.
about that. Then we're this week, tomorrow. Okay, by the time people watch this, it will already have aired.
It will.
Probably.
It will.
But anyway, if you go on the Skeptic Haven channel and click on the live tab and go check out the new show called Critical Call, and my first guest is going to be Seth Andrews, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we just discussed today, right? Childhood cancer, because it's a fundraiser, so we're going to raise funds and do all that stuff. So that's another way you can check me out, both on my channel and on Skeptic Haven channel. So fun stuff.
I love that. I love that. And you do morning shows too, don't you? With Ember and a bunch.
I
of
do when
people?
I can. Yeah, I haven't the last couple of weeks. It's been a little harder to do the morning stuff. But yeah, Java and Jugs on the Damn Network, and then Ember on Better Than Ember, her channel. She does this learning live together, I think, or learning together live. Learning together live. I should know the name by now. Sorry,
you do so much. You do so much. Honestly, you're everywhere.
I'll apologize to Ember right now. Anyway, so if you go to Ember's channel every morning, 10 a.m. Central Time, it's she's always talking about something different, some either science or some kind of psychology or some kind of like history, really, really cool stuff. And I always learn something new from there. So.
Yeah. And I just, I don't know if I probably shouldn't put this in the recording, it makes it look like I don't know what I'm doing, but I have already recorded with Ember. I don't know which one of these is going to come out first, but either way, the good news is you can also go check out Ember right here in the same spot and find all of the links for her as well. I will make sure I have all of that from you down in the description so that people can go find you, because like I said, you are everywhere. I have seen over the last couple of years as more and more people have started to find you and find your content. I have not heard of a single person that is not a fan, and I am thrilled to see that, AJ, because I adore you. There's maybe one or two out there, but when 99% of them come back overwhelmingly positive, my view is that 1% misread the questions because you are just beloved by so many people, and we can now officially say, I think, you are not Sydney Davis Jr. You and her are two separate people. Although I've got to get Sydney on at some point to confirm it too. But no, please, everybody, go check out AJ. Go find all the great stuff that she does there. There is a lot of really, really awesome content. And then just be making sure to watch out for her in the future, because I know she's going to be doing some more really amazing things that I am sure you will want to be a part of. Thank you so much, everybody. You know all the things to do, the buttons and the whatevers. Do it. I'm terrible at saying all that stuff. I'm also bad at talking about the fact that we have a merch store, by the way. If you're watching this video and you're thinking like, man, I want to go get that Secular Right US t-shirt, you can do that. There is a place. It's on our website. Again, that link's in the description. I know you're all smart people and you can find it. So that's all I've got. Did you have anything else you wanted to say to them before we just abruptly leave their lives today? Or
no, yeah, I guess what I was saying, life isn't about being perfect. It's about finding better ways to human.
I love it. See you guys.